Julie. Call the meeting to order this morning. Good morning, everybody. Julie, could you do the roll call, please?
Debbie Berry,
Here.
David Gilbert,
Here.
Deb Janik, Trevor McAleer,
Here.
Michael Obi, Rashonda Smith,
Here.
Bonnie Tewen,
Here.
Elton Tinker.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. Glad to have everybody here this morning. All right, our first item of business is approval of the meeting minutes from January 23rd. Any comments, questions, concerns about the minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Alton. Second.
Second.
Thanks, David. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Perfect. Do we have any public comments today?
No public comments.
Okay, fantastic. Moving forward quickly, next piece, I guess, is the board member re-nominations. I guess I shouldn't necessarily lead this piece, so.
So I'll take it over for
Thank
you.
you.
The next board nomination is seat number 2, county executive nomination of Debbie Berry. Any
Give us a
anyone?
speech.
No. I think we know.
I have a lot of comments.
Anyone second that nomination?
Move to accept the nomination. This is Trevor.
Great. Did Julie do any take roll on that, or we're
We
good?
can do a vote. Yep.
We do vote.
Debbie Berry,
Yes.
David Gilbert,
Yes.
Deb Janik, Trevor McAleer,
Yes.
Rashonda Smith,
Yes.
Bonnie Tewen,
Yes.
Elton Tinker.
Yep.
Excellent. So I guess
Thank you.
that's done. Thank you, everyone,
Congratulations.
for bringing me back on. We'll talk later about how I got here and what's happening with all that. But we do have a new board member nomination, and that is Connor Coakley, who is here with us in the room today, who is the Senior Vice President at Cushman Wakefield Cresco. Connor, do you want to say a couple words about yourself? I think everybody got your bio, but if you just want to, everyone knows you, but yeah, just for.
My name's Connor. I've been with Cushman and Wakefield for a few years, and before that, I was with CBRE for 12 years, and before that, a long time ago, I worked in City Hall with Deb. With Deb and Debbie, and a bunch of other. So I know a lot of people at the stable. I live in Cleveland in Edgewater neighborhood, and I'm a lacrosse coach for a second and third, fourth grade team in our openers today. So it's a very hectic day in the tournament, but happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, glad you could join us today too. We appreciate that. So, do we have a motion to approve Connor for seat?
So moved.
Thank you. Second. I'll second it. I got roll call, Julie.
Debbie Berry,
Yes.
David Gilbert,
Yes.
Deb Janik, Trevor McAleer,
Yes.
Michael Obi, Rashonda Smith,
Yes.
Bonnie Tewen,
Yes.
Elton Tinker.
Yes.
All right. Wonderful. Moving right along. Our next order of business is we have 2 board members that are stepping down, neither of whom are here today. But Majid Makhlouf, who all of you know, served ably as our president of the board for a number of years. We have proclamations for he and Michael Obi, who also will be stepping down. And I don't know, I'm not going to read all these to everybody, but we will make sure that they get them. Both of them have committed a lot of time to this board, and we really do appreciate their time and energy in supporting everything that CCCFDC did moving forward. Both of our proclamations are signed by the county executive and all of county council. And we will absolutely make sure that they get those going forward. Anything you want to say, Tim?
No, thank you, Debbie. On behalf of Julie and I, of course, but part of CCCFDC, both Majid and Michael were very instrumental over the last 18 months of myself working with them, but they did work before that. We are scheduling a time to deliver the proclamations and the plaques recognition for this service. Wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Board leadership transition. Jeff, do you want to explain?
Yeah, yes, thank you. And there's actually two aspects to this. So when Majid stepped down, what happens at that point is the Vice President, Debbie, automatically steps into the role of President of the Board until there is an election. We normally nominate and then elect board officers at the annual meeting every October. The board could, if it wanted to, at any time, hold an election for a board officer. So you could, if you wanted to, do something different. You could do that now. But the thought process and what we actually did once in the past is, particularly when we are doing a board transition, because we're in the process of getting new members of the board. We still are awaiting the finalization of nominations. So the normal process is we wait until we have our board intact, and typically would then, unless there's a reason not to, wait until the annual meeting with the board intact, get nominations for board officers and take care of that at the annual meeting in October. That is, if you are all content to have Debbie lead this as the board president until then. But that would be the typical and normal process, and it's what I would recommend at this point in time.
Any questions?
And it doesn't require a vote. It only requires a vote if you want to do something different, like if you want to nominate somebody else and proceed in a different way. But that would be the default process right now.
And as Jeff mentioned, we actually have 2 board member positions open. We're waiting for confirmation from county counsel's office to get those done. As an example, Deb Janik is on our board. That renomination is due to happen once paperwork is submitted, but she remains on our board until something changes. So it does not change her standing on the board. So as we move through this process, I think it's probably best if we look to July board meeting to make any hard decisions. Then we're going through this transition, and then we kind of go from there. That'd be my recommendation.
Anybody have questions?
Makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Once we get the new nominations out, we'll kind of open conversations on how we move forward with the executive.
Makes sense. Yeah. And that is also why we postponed our board retreat that was supposed to happen at this meeting, is because, again, knowing there were a few open seats and we were in this transition process, we thought it would be better to take a little bit of time to get things settled and then, work with Tim to come back and spend a little more time together on the retreat piece. So excellent. With that, we will jump to the executive director's report. Tim.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. For those online, we have a little bit of different setup in here, but I think this setup is finally settled. We're at a place we're comfortable in the rooms, and look forward to having everyone with us at the next meeting. For transition, as we've discussed with Debbie in the leadership role, we'll continue to work through our normal processes with our executive committee meetings on a regular basis to review financials and outstanding issues, communicating to the board on a regular basis. I really want to make sure we have a very seamless transition in this process. Connor, welcome to the team. We'll reach out to you after this meeting to set up an orientation process. You know the building pretty well, I know, but we'll walk through that and kind of get you up to speed on some of the history of and where we're going as far as the board goes. So welcome. 2025 results, as you can tell, we had a great year. Just a couple of things to point out on that, and not to certainly go back and live in 2025. This is the first year this building was profitable. We talked about it a little bit in the January meeting. For the first time, we've turned a profit. As a result of that, 2 things. One, we returned excess funds to the county of $1.7 million, a little bit over. First time funds have been returned to the county. They are earmarked as capital funds for future use. We have already gone through the process of identifying some projects that I'll share with you in a minute on those capital funds. But again, it was a great year, and it really just sets the stage for future results where we're working to be profitable on a regular basis. And again, as mentioned in the January meeting, that's really at the very, very high level of convention centers, and we want to continue to maintain that level. We'll talk about county capital projects shortly, but year-to-date 2026 results, you'll hear in a minute from Mike and Jude. Had a really good start to the year. Coming out of the first quarter ahead is always positive. considering the weather that we all endure here in Cleveland, and it's the lowest demand timeframe for us. So great jobs as far as that goes, but we're always cautious. 2026 with geopolitical issues and things going on, we never know where the economy is going to turn. So they are always fine tuning their contingency planning. If something were to change, how do we adjust our operation and move forward? So that's really a key part. We have already suffered through 4 cancellations in this building. We were able to offset that by new business being booked. And so again, that balance is what we've got to continue to maintain so we can still achieve our results and being prepared to react. One of the updates that we've talked about is the Osborne building assessment. We did that a little over a year ago. And we're continuing to work through some of those projects. You'll hear about that in a minute. And I think one of the more pressing issues that I've been working closely with Jeff is looking at the CCCFDC contract. I've asked Jeff to start putting together ideas, concepts, goals, and things that we think CCCFDC needs moving forward in the recontracting process. So we'll work with the county office, obviously, and the board to figure out those next steps. How do we present that information? And then how do we move forward and hopefully solidify in that agreement? Okay,
Are you gonna talk more about that at the contract or not?
we can
Expiration?
talk about it now.
Or do you have a
No,
slide?
no,
for it?
yeah, no, go ahead.
I guess, Jeff, just again, because maybe Connor's new, if you could just give a 10-second of why there's an expiration, just so that folks understand what's happening in 2027.
And Connor, I think I'd be happy to participate in a little bit of background education because there's some complexity to where we are. But essentially, we are at the expiration. Originally, as you may remember, this was MMPI. It was a private development. We converted that for good reasons into the CCCFDC, which is the public entity. Well, not the public entity, but the public not-for-profit entity. We are at the expiration of the term of that contract between the CCCFDC and the county, and that was all tied into the original financing arrangement, the original bonds. Very complicated lease-back scenario that even a real estate guy your eyes would roll when you see exactly how this had to be done. So that all comes to a conclusion. So now what we are doing is we're thinking through, okay, as we move forward, what does the new agreement have to look like? What are the critical aspects of it? What do we carry forward? How do we maintain the governance? How do we maintain the subsidy that the county provides? How do we maintain capital repair? Because we want to make sure that this building is always taken care of in terms of capital. And it's never, a deferred maintenance problem. All of those issues. And even how does this building coordinate with other county assets like the hotel? And all of these things are part of what will be a going forward agreement. So it's going to be structuring it and then really close communication with the county to talk through it, and also with the board and everybody else. So it's a really great opportunity because it is the future. I mean, this will be the structure for how this organization not just continues, but thrives and grows over decades. So it's a critical point. That's what this is all about.
Thank you.
Just to support what Jeff said, I think that's the critical part. We're truly in the infancy stages of this overall. I mean, we're less than 15, 20 years, we're 10 years into this building. Setting it up a long-term success from an organizational structure is really a critical part. And I think that's what we're really going to be working on. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide. 2026 goals. I share this at every meeting. I really want to make sure that the board still understands what we're really targeting. Reducing the deficit annually to break even by 2030. Again, I think we're about 5 years ahead of that by breaking even last year. We will continue on that focus. 2026 is an off year for us, and we knew that. So it's a little bit more complicated, but we're making strides in the right direction. But again, our goal is to exceed 60% occupancy in the building, which is the standard in the industry from an exhibits perspective, and then break even at the same time. Looking at new opportunities in the facility, meaning increased advertising, sponsorship revenue. Mike and his team do a really good job of looking at that and expanding services where we can drive additional revenues. Excuse me. And then long-term planning. One of the things that we participated in excuse me, with Majid, was to contract the CSNL study. And Julie, if you go to the next slide, this study was done for multiple reasons. Number one was to really provide enough detail and information on the market, the facility, and some long-term planning perspective to help on the recontracting and CCCFDC so that this board has as much information as possible about not only where we stand against competition, but making some sort of recommendations longer term of what ideas we should be considering moving forward. I sent this report out, and Connor, I'll get this to you today. It's finalized in late January. We just sent out to the board members. It's not public until today, and we will continue to, push this information. It's a very detailed report. I won't go over all of it. I probably am not qualified to go into all the analytics, but I wanted to pull a couple of specific slides out. And to something Debbie said earlier, we canceled the retreat aspect of our meeting for a lot of reasons. We were going to have John Katz with CSNL come to the meeting and to talk through this, allow opportunities for the board to ask a lot of questions. We're rescheduling him for the next meeting in July. And so we'll work through everyone's schedule and make sure that we have enough time to incorporate this into the meeting. But a couple of points on this slide, go back, Julie, the ballroom space. This is a slide that I think tells a lot about where we stand as a competition, talks about our ballroom. So in this facility, and again, it's very hard to read, but we're in the middle of the pack here as far as total square footage of ballroom space, 52,000 square feet. As comparison, Columbus has 74,000 square feet of ballroom space, and Cincinnati is 39,000. So we're a little behind on the total square footage of ballroom space. If you look at the second graph there, we are, it's the ballroom to exhibit space. Again, we are a little bit on the lower side compared to the comp set. And what he has outlined here in the orange box is if there were an expansion of the convention center exhibit space of 100,000 square feet, that would put us more on the higher end as far as that ratio goes. Yes, sir.
What is the definition of ballroom? Is it first floor ceiling height?
Ballroom space, large space, and ceiling height. I can get you the definition as he outlines it. It's not meeting space, it's larger facilities or basically, not exhibit space, ballroom.
Ground floor, nothing.
Yeah, yes.
Does the lobby count as ballroom space?
The atrium only, just the ballroom out there, not the open entry area, not the pre-function space.
So question, am I reading that right side graph wrong then? I
think you're-
thought the good was at the top and the poor was at the bottom, so we're actually doing better today in that particular category.
It's actually as a percentage compared to exhibit space. It's actually in this scenario, based on their formula, you want to be on the lower side.
Why does their chart to the right say the exact opposite? The good to bad.
The average is 0.16 and the median's at, right? And so, I'll have him explain why
Okay.
it says that and give you all the analytics. He's more qualified to do that part of it, okay?
Debbie, from what I understand, I think what it's saying is if in an assumption that bigger is better,
Mhm.
that you want you ideally you would want more ballroom space for the particular exhibit space you have. So Cincinnati, but there it's a you have to look whether it's a denominator problem. So if you have much smaller exhibit space, and let's say another convention has exactly the same ballroom space as us, but they have smaller exhibit space, their percentage would be higher. It may not necessarily mean they want or should have more ballroom space. It may mean they need more exhibit space.
Right.
I kind of see like it's you could look at the right graph in different ways.
Well, to clarify it, actually, I was wrong. It is exactly as you said, Debbie, because what you see is Cincinnati has 74,000 square feet of space, right?
Mhm.
And so we would have, you add 100,000 and we don't expand the ballroom space, then our ratio changes.
Yes.
And so, again, the average is 0.16, so somewhere in the middle there, which either way, if we expanded, we'd be at the average, where it wouldn't be out of sync. I would argue that Columbus, or rather Cincinnati and Columbus, They have much larger ballroom space. At the end of space.
Like almost over ballroom.
Over balls. Yes.
I see.
Right.
I'm just gonna say, whatever the explanation is, looking at that graphic is confusing.
I was confused. I read it too, and then when you said that.
It's 45 pages of a
Yeah.
lot of, which is why I wanted him here. John will be at our
Yeah,
end.
no, I know.
Tim, if I could just add, I believe it's because it's theoretical, if you were to expand the exhibit space an additional 100,000 square feet, that percentage goes down. So that's
Correct. That's what that is.
that's
saying.
comparing it to an expanded exhibit hall.
But I guess is it then telling us, so say we really needed larger ballroom, is it then telling us we also need additional exhibit space to balance the ballroom? So at some point.
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
What's
We're
the
gonna
right
get there.
happens?
The more important slides are coming.
Okay.
Next slide, Julie, goes to the meeting space percentage.
Yes.
And in this scenario, right? Our meeting space, total square footage, right? 95,000, showing where we compare to some of the larger. We're actually in really good shape on the meeting space side compared to, the four cities that are ahead of us, Minneapolis, Tennessee, Nashville, Indianapolis, and St. Louis. While we compete with them, they are much bigger facilities in different markets. So we're ahead of our comp set really, as far as the square footage of meeting space goes. On the next part of that graph, meeting to exhibit space ratio, we are on the high side, which is a good number. And again, this is a direct impact of the expansion that was done in this building. By adding that much meeting space, we have a lot more meeting space than other facilities have which really fits for a lot of groups that are adding meetings to their exhibits. And so we see this ratio as a real advantage for us. And then the next slide, Julie. This goes into the exhibit space scenario. And this is really where the most important part of it, that again, for long-term consideration, if there were to be some level of expansion that we will talk further about down the road. Right now, we're at 225,000 square feet. We're behind some of our competing cities, which is really important to us. More importantly, on the second part of that, on the right side, the largest contiguous space, that's where any expansion really being connected to the existing halls is really critical. And so, discussions about building a satellite building or exhibit hall doesn't really fit for large conventions that are looking for contiguous space. Okay. And then the next slide really is where the rubber meets the road, as they say. So in this slide, this is about capture. This is about the business that is out there. So at 225,000 square feet, we're in the discussion for 49% of the regional and national convention business that's out there. Okay, which means we can accommodate. Doesn't mean we're in negotiations, doesn't mean they want to come to Cleveland or will even consider Cleveland for that matter. We only did the analytics based on the numbers. With an expansion of the hall, that puts us in the 74% capture rate. So it's a 25%, 25-point move to capture additional business. So when you look at expansion ideas, it starts opening the door of how much business, more business can we host, which is really, as David knows from the Destination Cleveland side, this is what we're always trying to target, finding ways to capture more business and what we do to make sure that we're a much more favorable destination for more business. And so this is the key slide, I think, in everything that's been presented in that report, and there's a lot to it that John will talk about when he comes to visit.
Tim, one other thing, a little to clarify too. If you see on the graph, there's a bunch of plateaus, and that's because in a real good example, just below the second line is a 300,000 plateau, and what happens is when groups send out RFPs. And that's how most of this starts. Our collectively, our job first is to get them to send Cleveland an RFP. And oftentimes, if you're below a certain threshold, you're not even on their list, no matter what you do. So us even getting to 300,000, that's why that plateau, all of a sudden, there's a big group of meetings and conventions citywide that we want here, but they could love Cleveland and we still won't see that RFP. So I do think it's in my opinion, we don't need to play in that top tier. We don't need to get where Indianapolis is or even Columbus is. If we just got to 300,000, it will put us in a much different comp set in our ability to attract business here.
Totally agree. And as I said earlier, that's where looking at opportunities to open the door. And then as we know, when we get people to Cleveland, they want it. So it's just about opening that door. I think that's what this slide really talks about. Okay. Next slide. I update operating cash and capital cash for the executive committee every month. Julie and I are going to work on this slide to do a little bit of a different process in presenting the data. But overall, we opened right now with $2 million in capital in operating cash. With everything that's projected as far as funding the year, we look to end the year at $2.7 million balance at year-end in cash. Springboarding is into 2027, which, as we talked about to some degree, 2027 is a better year for us. We start the year strong in the first quarter, so starting to look at how we manage our cash flow into next year already is really important for us to make sure that we're set ourselves up for success next year. On the capital side, and Con, I can send you a full copy of the business plan that has the capital projects outlined. We'll still include a lot of this information, but again, starting the year with $3.5 million, we've got about almost $400,000 in outstanding projects, $2.2 million in approved projects as part of the capital budget. We looked at the year roughly around $1 million in capital funds to roll into next year. To set ourselves up again for new projects. And what we'll do in October, when we present the business plan again, we'll outline what projects are set for 2027.
Tim, do any of these numbers include the ending balances from last year?
Yes,
Okay,
they do. It all rolls over.
okay. So if you had a balance last year of, what did you say, 1.7?
Going into the year?
Yeah.
Well, the two different things, I think. What I talked about earlier, the 1.7 that we rolled over.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, with our agreement with the county as part of our obligation, excess funds get returned back to the county. And so when we looked at the end of the year, we had to have funds for operating the building, number one, which is the operating cash. We had to go into the year with funds for the capital projects that were already approved. We kept a little bit over, and we're allowed to keep up to $3 million into our cash for capital projects. Anything above that gets returned to the county. So 1.7 was in excess of all of this.
Okay.
That did not roll into any of this. And I'm going
Thank
to
you.
talk about that in a second also.
But it is still set aside at the county so that if we have capital projects and we're able to get through them, that we just have to request that and be able to continue moving with it. So the money's there, it just isn't being held here.
It's just a clean process for
Yeah.
a lot of reasons. So we operate with it. Again, the good news is we were able to return that cash. To the county.
Yep.
So. And then speaking of capital projects, so these are outstanding projects for 2025. A lot of times in this facility, when we're doing projects, either be it for project management purposes or, processes, sometimes it gets delayed. So we keep it separate to roll it over to make sure that we're accounting for the funds, number one, and continue to show it until it's completed. So in this situation, one of the things that we're still working on is the St. Clair digital sign. We've been working on that for a while. Rashonda, I know you're on the call. I'll reach out to you later today because I might need your support in pushing that along. The adult changing table is going in, the electrical equipment, that was part of the Osborne reports, circuit breakers. We had to go through some timing on that to make sure that we were prepared to get that work done. And we finally are moving forward to put in a coffee maker behind the atrium ballroom that was never done. Mike and Jude and their teams are very excited about it. For whatever reason, one was never put in behind the ballroom. So the problem is it's a little more complicated than just pushing it in there. We've got to trench up sewer lines and things like that. So that's why it's so expensive, but we'll have that done by the end of the year, at the very latest, but we're starting that project. The dock entrance resurfacing that was also identified in the Osborne report, that has been completed as of 2 weeks ago, finally, and we had a lot of weather delays on that. So that's moving off. So the 2025 projects will come off once they're all paid.
And Tim, one of the larger capital improvement projects that was mentioned previously was the whole dock bridge.
Next
maybe?
slide.
I'm sorry.
Good
memory,
I love it. Well, so that was part of it. That's the $520,000 that we have identified. There are 5 areas of that. The biggest Part of it is into the garage area and getting underneath there with split beams to make sure that that's all solidified. We've got the bid on that. We've approved the contractor, and we've also reached out to Ellis to have part in that from a consulting standpoint, because we want to make sure we've got all the right players in coordination with the city, the county, and everybody in there. It's a big project and there's work going on in the garage also. So we want to make sure that's coordinated properly. Okay, but we're moving forward with that project, and again, expect to have that done by the end of summer is our goal before we get to any winter problems that we have other delays.
And all of these improvements are being paid for by the money that was given back to the county.
No, this is all, if you go back 2 slides, Julie, to the cash flow, that's all in my capital budget that we've got accounted for. So that's coming out of all that 2.2 million in projects.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we keep it completely separate. We've got our approved capital budgets and business plan. These are the projects that we have capital funds for. And then the 1.7 is just out there that I will go to in 2 slides, I think. The next slide, new capital projects. So this is the 1.7 million that we talked about. We moved those funds over. These projects were identified twofold. A couple of them were part of long-term planning in the business plan in our 5-year capital plan. As an example, the lighting project, $800,000 to update the lighting in the exhibit hall to LED. That needs to get done. It was part of our 5-year plan. So we put that or accounted for it in this $1.7 million as part of the county. We're just not ready to start it. We just have to work with the county to get that all approved from the release of the funds. A couple of the other projects that we're really focusing on. I talked earlier about new ideas to drive revenue, make the facility much more attractive to customers. That idea is on the 4th floor build out. Mike and his team have looked at the space right above us. It's currently blocked off space, used as storage. It was never finished out as part of the renovation. And we would like to redesign that and make it activate that space differently. And so we put together a plan. We've started that process. We've got feedback from Destination Cleveland from a selling standpoint. So we're looking to move that to the next phase, and we'll go back to the county and say, hey, we want to get this started. So once the funds are approved and released, do executive committee approving it as a project number 1, and then getting the funds released, then we'll start.
But that one, I think we are going to bring back to the board.
We
The
are.
executive committee just looked at a preliminary outline and is still commenting on it, but I think we'd like to just make sure that everybody understands what that is, being the investment of the size it is, and that it's hopefully to be revenue generating. So that'll come hopefully back at July.
And we'll bring all of these back to the board.
Yeah, these are not.
For consideration. I mean, these are outside the scope of what's been approved, so the board would have to approve all of these. Okay. The more complicated one in here is the tree pits. We've got some leaking coming into the facility. We've been looking at this for a long time. We think we've identified some tree pits that need to be done. The other thing that's, I think, more interesting that is the farm upgrade. You know, the farm is really a big part of the facility. It's fallen on hard times, let's just say. It's been really complicated to manage for a lot of reasons. Jude and Mike have worked with a local company to look at what we can do to clean it up. And clean it up, number 1, make it a much more visually appealing farm. Maybe move away from some of the more problematic items like, pigs back there is not necessarily an easy thing to manage. So we've looked at that and we're working on those concept ideas to make some of those changes. I think what we will probably slow some of that down only because there's so much discussion of other work happening on that side of the city. So we're working through that project and we will bring all of this back to it. Okay. But Bonnie, just to answer your question also, that's why I'm keeping track of that 1.7. And that's why I keep it separate, and I will always keep it separate from presentation so that we know how we're accounting for that. And next slide, Julia. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mike at this point and let him go over the financials for the first quarter.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We'll get into our year-to-date performance. Before I do that, though, I just want to thank personally and on behalf of our team Michael Obi and Majid, to echo Tim's comments and the board's comments. I appreciate their leadership through the years, and it was a pleasure to work with them. We'll miss them. Connor, welcome to the team. All right, so talk about year to date. So through first quarter, total events, our goal is 125. On the books, which is the blue, we have 112. The green represents how many events we've had year to date. So goal 125, 112 on the books. We feel really good with our sales team and the contract issued events that we have that we're going to meet this goal. Total attendance, we've already exceeded this goal. Our goal was 375,000 for the year. We've already blown past that with what we already have on the books. So good story on the attendance side. Total room nights. Of course, this is one of the primary reasons why we're here, is to generate room nights and economic impact. Our goal this year is 118,000. Right now on the books, we've got 117,000. So we feel really good about these three goals and these three benchmarks here, that we're going to be able to achieve them by year's end. Okay, economic impact. Again, cornerstone of why we're here, to generate economic impact. Last year in 2025, we did a little over 100 million in economic impact. This year, coming out of the gates for 26, we were up to $26 million in the green, top row. So far year to date, we believe we're going to meet, hopefully exceed where we were in 25, but it's too early to tell, right? And we work hand in hand with Destination Cleveland to actually generate those economic impact reports. But right now we feel pretty good. We'll at least be able to match, hopefully exceed where we were at last year. Sake of comparison, I want to show 2024, which is the third blue row across there. That was a great year as far as economic impact. That year we did over 135 million. This was primarily because of NCAA Women's Final Four, Caitlin Clark, and the amazing event that was. Tremendous amount of room nights, and we were able to take part in that event. So exhibit hall occupancy, our goal for the year in 2026 is 50%. So right now we're at 45% on the books, definite. Craig and team and Travis, they're working on converting some contract issued. We feel really good. We're going to be able to get to that 50%, but we still have some work to do there. It seems like we're close, but to move occupancy in the exhibit hall is difficult in the year for the year, because typically those type of events book far out. But we've got volleyball, we've got MedWorks, pickleball that we're going to look to turn, and so we feel good about getting to that number. All right, year-to-date financials. As Tim said, it's been a good quarter financially. So gross revenue, top left row, 5.3 million. So this is top line money flowing in, is the way I look at it, versus a budget of 4.8. So we grew top line by 489,000. Net event income, this is where we back out our direct event expenses against that gross and come up with net event income of 2.1 versus 1.5 budget. Again, strong variance of 650,000. Non-event income. So now we go ahead and we add back in some of the non-event income, which includes retail. So Starbucks, bagel, sponsorships, things like that, of 316 versus 317 of a budget. So we were pretty close there. So that brings our total adjusted gross revenue to 2.4 versus 1.8, similar variance of 650,000. Then lastly, back out our indirects. Indirects were 3.3 year to date versus a budget of 3.3. So negative variance of 50,000. For the most part, in line with the amount of additional revenue that we generated. So key takeaway is January, we started off in the hole a little bit, actually about 300,000 to budget. And we accelerated pretty quickly in February, and March was an unbelievable month for us. We actually exceeded budget by almost $700,000 in the month of March. primarily attributed to NBAA, Aviation Administration event. Levy and team, food and beverage really did a great job, but we also grew IT, internet, and all those ancillary revenue streams with that business aviation event. So great event. So I guess last thing to point out, year to date, we're 600,000 positive to budget. Stop clicking, Jordan. There we go. Little delay. Okay. So year to date, just talk a little bit about where our revenues come from on the event side. So on the left pie chart, you'll see 42%. When you look at it from a numerical standpoint, composition of the event mix, 42% of our events were meetings. But then you shift to the right pie chart and you'll see those meetings only accounted for 12% of our revenue. You look at on the left, 15%, or I'm sorry, 13% of our events were conventions, but 50% of those conventions accounted for our revenue. So we try not to get caught up in number of events and total number of events, although we track that. We really focus on quality, right? And really getting those events that drive rent, drive food and beverage, and drive those ancillary expenditures. Okay. So we talked a little about year to date. Let's talk about where we think we're going to end up as far as our forecast at the end of the year. Again, similar to the prior slide, gross revenue of 20 million versus a budget of 19.7. Again, this is our forecast year end. We're projecting a positive variance of 560. Net event income, another positive variance of 696. Non-event income, positive variance again. Total adjusted gross revenue of 778. Backing out the indirect expenses, a negative variance of 575, again, because we're generating additional revenue. Right now, we feel when you shake it all out, we're going to be budget by 200,000. So part of this, as Tim talked a little bit about this, we've had a great quarter. And so we've made some hay, if you will, in the first quarter. However, we had several cancellations in August, October, of a couple of events, some federally funded issues there. There's some macroeconomic reasons for those cancellations. And so we lost a pretty good amount of on the book revenue in those months. But thankfully, first quarter, we gained a lot of ground. So we have a nice cushion to absorb that.
Are these numbers based on actual signed agreements or projections?
Projections. Yeah. So we've got our core of what's on the books, and then we know what contracts we've issued, and then we know what ones we feel pretty good about that are tentative. And so, because we know from history that we're going to put more on the books at this point moving forward. So. Okay. So this slide really quick just shows the production really from our sales team from when we first created the budget. And so as of 10/1 and 25, that's when we submit our budget for this year. We only had 49 events on the books. Sitting here today, we've grown that to 110. So we've more than doubled the amount of events that we had on the books back when we submitted our budget. Carrying that down, that equates to $2.8 million additional that we've put on the books since we've submitted our budget. So good work to Craig and sales team for converting and getting a lot of those events signed. So the next row down shows our chase. Okay, so in order for us to beat forecast by 200,000, you can see right there year-end forecast at 10.1. This is the number we need to get to on the event net income side. And so that equates to a $700,000 chase. So sitting here today, our sales team, we got to go out and convert $700,000 more in event revenue. Okay. Okay, Jude, you're up.
Thank you, Mike, and good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing me the time to share the Levy gross financial report out and as well as add some context to these numbers. So as we start at the top, our gross revenue thus far is 3.47 million, 110,000 better to budget for the year so far. Primarily driven by banquets and catering. That's where we tend to shine. Our year-to-date actual is 2.1 million versus a budget of 1.8 with a positive variance of 284,000. Much of this is driven by the NBAA Expo that was just here recently. We're fortunate that as we're seeing shows come to Cleveland, they are great. So we're able with our nimble team to meet the demand. So when people see numbers go up and increase, we do the best we can to offer options to keep those increases flowing. As I look at show concessions, these would be primarily our youth sports events, our expo events like Fan Expo, fencing. We're sitting at $914,746 as opposed to a budget of 1.1. So we're showing a negative variance of 204,000 in this aspect. Overall, we've seen a decrease in some of the consumers' discretionary spending at these shows. We're still seeing the attendance. We were plagued with some bad weather at the beginning of the year. We do hope to gain some traction towards the end of the year as we pick up the IX Center shows that are coming this way. So we have a lot of hope that can continue, we can bridge that gap. Moving along into Starbucks. Starbucks, if you've seen on the news, a lot of the coming back to Starbucks driven by the CEO, Brian Nicole, is really starting to pay off. First, they focused on the corporate stores. Now they're allowing the licensees to be able to be better decision makers of their operation. We've taken advantage of this right away and been able to do things such as offering different products, the products that sell here versus offering all the Starbucks products, operating amongst the standards that we choose, and also making cost adjustments. So our prime costs have continued to decrease, and we're seeing that right now we're sitting at $310,041 as a budget of $282,000, with a variance positive of $27,840. We hope to be $1 million cafe this year, and that is the sweet spot. So as we continue to grow. And last but certainly not least, our passion project here, our homegrown Bagel Boulevard, sitting at $142,276, as opposed to a budget of $140,000, with a variance to the good of $2,276. Bagel Boulevard, we feel like we're getting an accurate projection after year one. It does continue to grow and gain in popularity. Little insight that I thought was fun is that we just recently got our first wedding request buyout. So we have guests that are having a wedding, they're at the Hilton, they're staying, and they go to Bagel Boulevard so much they want all of their family and friends to come over and experience a bagel before they leave from out of town. So the bagels have gained traction. They're very tasty in the market, and ultimately it's really playing in our favor to have that as a street option and for an option in-house, because we're seeing that our catering and premium menu is also intertwining the bagels throughout that, and it's becoming very popular as a breakfast option. So gone are the days of the cold convention center bagel to the now freshly baked bagel that comes from Bagel Boulevard. Yes.
Starbucks and Bagel Boulevard, are those percentage leases, or those aren't, do we own those?
So with Starbucks, we're a licensee store. So there is a percentage commissionary lease that is paid back to Starbucks. It was 7.5%. And this year with the bringing back to Starbucks program, they took 0.5% off that. So it's 7%. And Bagel Boulevard is our own homegrown concept with no percentage leases paid out, just back to the building.
Are there any other tenants within this facility that are more real estate typical leases?
No.
I'd ask Mike that.
The only other one would be the UPS store. We have an on-site UPS store in the building.
That's just a standard
Monthly lease. Yeah.
Any questions? Okay.
Great job, Judy.
Thank you very much.
Done a phenomenal job, especially at Starbucks this year. It's been a drain on everybody. So nice job. Thank you,
Yeah,
Bart.
that Starbucks number looks really good compared to what we were seeing last year. It seemed like it was really.
Absolutely. Allowing us to take control and managing it our way has really expanded what we think we can do at Starbucks and still keep it as a major amenity within the convention center, because people really like it, especially when we see the youth sports shows coming in. And we've been able to make changes So primarily in the past, we would run a satellite bar just to keep up with the cold beverages with all the youth sports shows. Now we've redesigned our cold bar setup and we can keep our mobile order pay on and continue to service the guests without having to set up a satellite station, which just adds labor to the whole scenario. So the changes that we want to make, they're behind and they're working with us in a positive way.
That and a food cost issue, because we were mandated to do so many things the way they wanted to do it.
Mhm.
We were going through product that we had to have and throw away daily. I mean, we were just going through a boatload of expenses for no reason. So having more control of the operation, people have been screaming at Starbucks for years to try to get there. And so for whatever reason, this past year, they made that change. So I think it's really good results.
Good, great, thank you.
Very positive. Thank you.
And back over to Mike.
Okay. Okay, so kind of second quarter, let's go through some of our top upcoming shows. I'm not going to read them all, just highlight a few. NAFA, this is Fleet Administrators. This actually occurred last week. It was a great event for us. So this is everybody in the fleet industry. North American Snow Conference. What is that? The fifth one down. As soon as we think we're getting beyond winter here, we roll all the snow plows into the exhibit halls. So we have Green Sports Alliance. I think this is pretty cool because it's sustainability in sports. And as everybody here knows, we have a pretty good, or I think an excellent sustainability story here with our green roof, our urban farm, grind to energy, and all the sustainable efforts that we have. Also being a LEED Gold building. So I think we're really going to shine during that event. We're going to be interacting and providing tours of our building to attendees. So we're excited about that one. And also we have the second coming of AP Reading in May. Again, this is that almost 3.5 week event. You can see almost 16,000 room nights for the city. So my son's got his scores graded last year. So this year I won't be as stressed out about that event. Okay. So as Tim talked about earlier, we were always engaging in conversations about what additional revenue streams we can bring to the table to again reduce our deficit. I'm happy to announce Mills James, we extended our partnership with them. So a 3-year deal with 2 1-year renewals. We restructured that agreement somewhat to help us out, generate some incremental dollars there, but also create excellent service. Fern, the second one, is a general service contractor. So they do a lot of the work for the shows that come in, pipe and drape, carpet, freight, items like that. So we did a preferred general service contracted partnership with them to be able to earn some sponsorship dollars. And then also they are the exclusive installer of all non-digital graphics, which is a win-win. So not only are we able to monetize that, we're also able to have a consistent entity or party installing those graphics to reduce damage. Voltus, this is a Legends Global corporate partner. This is an energy curtailment demand response company. So kind of long story short, we enter into an agreement with them. They reach out to us during certain periods of expected peak demand load for the grid. If we're able to reduce our HVAC, we can go ahead and profit from that. And so they basically pay us to be able to sign on to an agreement to reduce when we can. The beautiful thing about this is if we have an event in-house and we're not able to participate, we don't have to. So there are no obligations associated with that. So truly only upside. Jeff?
Well, just a couple things. So this is we did get involved in the negotiation of terms and conditions on this agreement to make sure that we are protected, which is to say that if there's a point in time where there are energy issues and there's a request to curtail demand on our part, it does not impact an event. So we have protections so that it's not like if we have a big event going on, we're going to have to cut down our energy. The way the agreement works, it's a revenue generating agreement, which is to say that we are not paying anything. It's a basis for us to get revenue. which is why, by the way, the board doesn't vote on it because it's revenue generating. It's just like we don't vote on a show. So it's a one-way agreement. It's something that can benefit us, but the worst thing that happens is that we don't make as much money out of it as we would have hoped. So if there's questions about it, but I will tell you that we spent some time legally going through the agreement, and it's so we've looked at it from the CCCFDC point of view to make sure that we're protected in it.
Compliments to Mike to really pushing through some of these things. Again, on an effort to get to break even or profitability on a regular basis. It's about finding all incremental revenues that we can drive to the facility without affecting anything on the operational side, costs or anything like that. So I think he mentioned Fern from a signage standpoint, and we're looking at new ways also to enhance that from a revenue generating standpoint. More to come with that.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, next slide. Just real quickly here, I'd like to talk a little bit about our team's efforts with volunteerism. And we really preach and try to get our team, to understand the importance of getting out into the community and making an impact beyond these four walls, and getting out there and volunteering. So with Levy, Edlin, and Mills James, we all got together. We actually collected almost 160 pounds of books, and we volunteered with the Cleveland's Kids Book Bank to help them organize all these donations for them to provide to schools, hospitals, and whoever else wants to read. So we were very happy to be able to participate in that. Okay, sales production. So year to date, events booked in the year for the year. So in 26, for 26, again, 61. And that event net income, 2.8. So Craig and team, our sales team, has put 61 events on the books, generating 2.8 in event net income. Now, events booked in this year for future years. So in 26, for 27 and beyond, in the first quarter, we have 13. So 13 events total. When you look at the lead source, 9 of those were ours, 4 of those were directly from Destination Cleveland. And so obviously we work hand in hand with Destination Cleveland, mostly on further out events. But through the first quarter, that's how that broke out as far as the lead sourcing. Okay, PACE report. So this slide, we're familiar with seeing this. Really, you just kind of look for harmony here. The further you get out, as far as years go, there can be more variances because there's less room nights on the books. But basically, this just compares a booking pace against for in the year, for the year, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and so forth, as compared to a year prior for those same time increments. The key takeaway, in my opinion here, is that 2029 remains a need-based year. And so we partner with the hotel community and Destination Cleveland to come up with the booking incentive program. So kudos to David and his team. They put together an amazing program to really push bookings into this year. And so we look forward to seeing that spike up in the future. 2030, you can see the orange, the city, which is Destination Cleveland. I believe that's primarily related to Special Olympics on the books. So that's kind of that pretty steep spike up there. So any questions on this slide? Okay. So event organizer surveys. So thank you to Michael Obi. Last meeting, he had suggested we change our scoring from good, very good, and excellent to just very good and excellent. So he's making it harder on us. So we changed it to very good and excellent here. So these 4 categories, this is what our clients are saying about us. And so there are a lot of questions associated with these broad categories, but these are all really, really good scores. So proud of the team for executing and delivering outstanding customer service. Okay, social media quickly.
Go ahead, Bonnie had a
Yeah,
question.
sorry. Do you have benchmarks against other cities in your company, similar comparisons that you should?
100%. And that's the whole value of doing this. So we have a whole peer set that we compare ourselves against.
And how are we doing compared to others?
And so action rate here is we're plus 1% versus the average in quality, plus 2% for the street.
Yeah.
These numbers here actually say we're all favorable to our peers.
Okay.
You can see here.
Mike, I think the survey also does a ranking by facilities. Can we see that next time and
Sure.
see if we can get that? And we
Absolutely.
exactly
Where we
will
stand.
rank
Yep.
rather than hair comparison.
Yep.
Percentage, yeah.
Right.
Got it.
But is our survey different than other cities' surveys?
So this is really just Legends Global managed
Yeah,
venues. So we track that. So in our peer network.
So it's probably, so there's usually like a core 10 questions or whatever.
Yeah.
That every facility gets, 10
Right.
questions. And then you probably have some discrepancy with some percentage of them. So we can figure that out though.
okay.
Okay, social media. So 80 news articles for the quarter, 168 followers gained on Instagram. So Jordan and our marketing team continue to drive participation. 57 followers on LinkedIn gained, and 332 followers on Bagel Boulevard's Instagram page. Now, I'm sure everybody has this on their calendar. Tomorrow is Superman Day. So April 18th is Superman Day, celebrates Superman's first appearance debut in Action Comics in 1938. So pretty cool. Obviously, we had the statue, and we're very excited to be able to put forth some activations for the day. So Jude, you want to talk a little bit about, did you come up with this name, Matcha of Steel? Is that your?
I'd like to take credit for that. Thank you, Mike, but I did not. So typically what we do with our Starbucks program, we have the baristas come up with a drink of the month, and then we taste them and grade them, and then we pick one. So it helps keep the employees actively engaged in the work that involves them, and they have fun with it. So for Superman Day, we're going to be doing the Matcha of Steel, which matcha is pretty much the hottest thing in the coffee world right now, along with a pup cup for any dogs that may want to attend as well. Then over at Bagel Boulevard, we'll be offering the Cleveland Red Capes to the first 50 paying customers. And we're also working a partnership with GV Graphics to sell the t-shirts that were worn for the inaugural Superman Plaza unveiling. That t-shirt was so popular that people were trying to literally buy it off my back as I was leaving that day. So we worked a partnership with a local small business, and they were willing to provide us with the shirts so that we can sell them, so that anybody that's a super fan, they're very much into collectibles, that's a very hot item right now, can buy the shirt while they're here visiting, and think it's a nice offer to keep things interesting and creative. You're welcome.
Do we have any exterior signage, like just saying that, especially for tomorrow? I mean, I'm not saying we want to spend a lot of money, but just the plaza's there, obviously, people are out and about. Tomorrow's a big Cavs game, just, I don't know, putting something to say, come in because we're doing something special.
We have internal digital signage, but we certainly could place a sandwich board out on the
I
sidewalk.
think that'd be just a nice thing that, again, if people walk by and, realize there's a little something extra that they might.
I appreciate the suggestion, and with our in-house UPS store, we can easily make that happen. Thank you.
We reached out to the Seagull Schuster Group. They're actually doing an event tomorrow.
Ah.
Marriott.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Oh, interesting. Well, then we
so
definitely should have some outward facing.
fundraiser or something, so we expect. to
Yeah,
keep them
let
traffic.
people, yeah.
So Mike and Jude have been working with them continually. You guys, Mike is gonna talk about, I think, the next phase of it. In that image, you can see where we put the display case in Bagel Boulevard. And Mike's been working with the library folks to, swap those things out to kind of keep it as an active area. And then Mike, I'll decide to step all over you. I'll let you take the next slide. Go
All's
for it.
good. So we also, again, we want to have a natural, nice tie-in inside, and nice flow out onto Siegel and Schuster Plaza. So what we're planning to do on the inside in that corridor is add 5 8x4 banners, highlighting different comic book covers throughout the years. So again, we're always looking for unique tie-in stories. So when people visit us from all over the world, all over the country, they get a sense of Cleveland. So this thematically is at the airports. We have the statue, and so this is just another pretty cool activation
Feels
to
like
go
a
towards our
giant
storytelling.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Just
there this morning.
empty space.
Absolutely.
So I think it's great use of the space. So great
And
job.
Debbie, I also would mention, I just mentioned to Tim that we do want to help them support their fundraising efforts, because keep in mind, they have the obligation to continue to add to our capital
Right.
fund,
Maintenance.
fund.
So that concludes our presentation today. Any questions?
That's great.
Good job.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank
Black today. All right, next up, we have Larry online to give us an update on the Hilton. Connor, I don't know if you know Larry, but he is the county's asset manager for the Hilton Hotel and keeps us informed on the hotel markets in the city. So Larry, take it away.
Thanks, Debbie. Tough to follow Superman, but appreciate it. Look, statistics we're going to show here are year to date through February. The March data has not come out yet, but overall for the industry, RevPAR is up 2.4% through the first 2 months of the year. That's actually been a little bit surprising. As we've mentioned before, last year was essentially flat to slightly negative. So starting off the year a little bit stronger than folks expected. It's coming through a balance of both occupancy and ADR. Looking at the outlook for the year, the outlook still remains somewhat mixed of 0.6% to 2.2% expected RevPAR growth. I think the wild card within that is FIFA and the World Cup, and understanding what the true impact is going to be in the markets where the games are being held. Looking at the Cleveland market overall, RevPAR in line with U.S. averages, 2.4%, 2.4%. Kind of in the middle, other markets doing a little bit better, but generally speaking, to be in line with the national averages for the overall Cleveland market. When we look at the downtown set, however, down slightly, year to date down about 7%. I think when we look at the March data, however, Mike mentioned a couple of the big events from March, but we should see some strong RevPAR growth based off the preliminary data from March, particularly from fencing and wrestling, probably be around 18% RevPAR growth for the month. Other key items, passenger count at the airport is down 3% through last year. Mentioned some of the big events already that have come through and are coming through as well. Mike mentioned, again, lead volume and pace starting to improve in the out years. Looking at new supply changes downtown, many people know the DoubleTree is currently closed. Holiday Inn Express will be converting to an AC, and several other renovations and repositionings underway. And then some people may have seen, but the club at Hilton is set to open in the next couple of weeks. Be some events around that in early May. Any questions?
Questions for Larry? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate all that.
Thanks.
Do we have any old or new business to discuss? All right, hearing none. I would like to go into a very short executive session to discuss an employment matter. We won't take any actions in the executive session, but I'm going to ask that all of our staff and guests leave. I'm going to ask Jeff to stay if he would. Fabulous. We are returning from our executive session. We did not take any action in that executive session, any formal action. If we could have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Bonnie. Second from Alton. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time. Our next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.